All right, good morning. How's everybody doing? So just going to refresh the feed, make sure we're good. This is Paint with Lovejoy. This is our daily demo, and we are honoring first responders and the medical staff today and all the essential employees. This was a viewer request. All right, so it looks like we are good. Okay, so a little bit of what you're looking at on the screen. You've got two options. You can pause the video and draw what you see. And if you do want to make this a bit more of a male instead of a female, since she's got the ponytail, to make this a guy, just don't add the ponytail version. And it's kind of ambiguous, so you can switch to whatever you want. So if you want to honor a specific person that has been working in the medical field or as one of the first responders or one of the essential workers, feel free to make this in honor of them and give it to them. Write a message on the back of the canvas and gift them. If you do not want to draw what you see, there is another option at the end of this video, of this live demo. I will upload what I call a traceable to my website, and there's going to be a link in the description box below. You can purchase the traceable, and then with carbon paper, you can use it to transfer this image on there. Excuse me. But I do recommend that you pause the video and kind of draw what you see, so that way you're strengthening your power of observation, and it just makes your painting more creative and kind of pushes your skills a little bit. All right, so what we're going to do today, I am going to keep this on a limited color palette, and I am with the primary colors. So we've got yellow, red, blue. I did put a little bit of raw sienna, some light brown on there, because I'm partial to having a tan on my person. So if you prefer tan or a different skin tone color, or if you want to even, when we get to it, I'll mention it, we can do a little slight pink, but you can change the skin tone, you can change the hair color, you can change the color of the shirt, the background. You can switch this up to be whatever you want. But I do like to kind of have a limited palette, and I had a few other requests for using primary colors, so that's why we're using it today. So we are going to start in the background, and I'm going to make a light blue for the background, and we're going to fill that in, get kind of comfortable. I'll show you a few different brush strokes. So I'm going to start with a light blue. So I'm pulling some white aside. You can add a tiny amount of blue to it, and it can kind of be the shade of blue that you want. Now, I do plan on doing the mask a light blue, or possibly a darker blue. So I do want it to be different than the background color. So think about if you're going to do that, or if you do a different color on your mask. All right, so actually as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking this light blue might be what I want for the mask. So what I'm going to do is make a darker blue for the background. There we go. And sometimes you may notice that when you're painting, you may start with an idea, and then once you start painting, maybe you switch that idea. That is totally okay. That is part of the painting process. So kind of using my middle blue, try a few different brush strokes while you're painting the background. You've got kind of your full width. You can turn that brush sideways, a little bit skinnier, or my favorite one is literally making X marks and slapping it back and forth. And if you have to mix your color a second, third, or fourth time, do not stress about getting the exact same shade. I will throw some other colors in here after we have our background filled up. And actually not other colors, we'll throw some more pure white and some more of that darker blue in there. And just kind of change the shade of the background. And I'll probably end up using that full blob of white. There we go. So again, if you have to mix it a second or third time, no worries, no stress. Just the fact that you're hanging out with me this morning painting, or you're catching this on the replay and painting, just the fact that you are going through this process is highly therapeutic and awesome. So be kind to yourself, especially if this is one of your first times painting. Now, if you are painting on a stretched canvas like I am, I do recommend that you carry the color over the top, the side, and even the bottom. That way it looks really nice when you hang it on the wall, having that color wrap around the edge. Now again, if you did want this to be a dude, a guy, you can draw this and just don't add the ponytail. So you can make it the human that you want to honor right now. All right, and well, got some few people jumping on. Awesome. Hi, Sonia. Hi, Betty. Hi, Tammy. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me on this Sunday morning. These have been awesome, awesome daily demos, so I appreciate everybody's support. And those of you catching it on the replay, I appreciate your support as well. Creativity is one of the best things to do when you are stuck at home. And after you've exhausted all your other possibilities of entertainment, painting is usually one that comes around 2 or 3 times. So paint multiple paintings while you have to stay at home. And then when you do go back to work, please continue to paint. These are great stress relievers. These are great ways to kind of escape the world. So once we get back to some form of normal, again, or a new normal, make sure you keep some of the awesome things that you're learning right now in your schedule. All right, so we've got a good base on there. All right, and looking over, checking out any comments or questions. Yes, big, huge thanks to all the frontline workers, employees, essential workers. And Tammy, thanks for testing for antibodies for people. It all is helping us move forward, so thank you guys. All right, so now we're gonna do a little wet on wet blending. So I'm grabbing the rest of that white that I have. If you need a new blob, feel free to add it. And this is a lot of fun because literally you just slap your paint on there. Let's go a little bit more. And then with light pressure, you're gonna move your brush on top of it and just kind of play with it. And you can only do this while your background is wet, hence the name. It is called wet on wet blending. But something to just kind of fun and play with. I'm going to grab a bit more of that direct blue, same thing on the bottom, slap it there. I'm very partial to having a lighter top background and a darker bottom background. Visually, the darker on the bottom holds a little more weight as you are looking at the painting. And if you need to, because I am using a re-gessoed canvas, it does tend to dry a little bit quicker, so you can go back to that middle color and apply some more and do some blending, but play with that transition of where your darker and your lighter blue are meeting. And you can always add a touch of water to your brush, but you never want your brush dripping wet. If you are using student grade paints like I am, you will notice that they are a bit on the transparent side, so you may need to apply your paint a little bit thicker, or you might need to apply 1 or 2 coats of your paint to get an opaque coverage. So adjust what you need with the type of paint that you are using. And with any of these videos, you do not have to use just paint. You can use crayons, markers, colored pencils, anything you might want. All right. And looks like it's still going. Looks like it froze on my screen. There we go. Okay. All right, so I think we're pretty good with the background. Let me fix that little transition right there. All right. And I'm actually going to move into the shirt, then we'll do the skin, then we'll kind of move our way up to the hair, because I am going to do blonde hair, so I'm going to use the yellow. So I do want that background to dry before I move into the yellow, because I don't really want any green in her hair. And since this is a 30-minute demo, I'm painting at a bit faster pace than I normally would. And if you're painting at home and catching this on the replay, it's totally okay to let your background dry, then move into the next section, let it dry. So you can work a bit more at your own pace for the replay. So, all right, so keeping with the primary colors, we're gonna give her a red shirt. And I am gonna apply that kind of thick because my red is on the transparent side. And I am covering those black outlines. And I would recommend that when you are done with your painting, go back and reapply those black outlines. This is a very simple composition. So if you do apply your black outlines, it gives it a bit more of a pop art and a bit more of a boldness, almost even like clip art. So if you feel like doing that, go right ahead. All right, so filling that in, and again, remember to kind of fill it over the edge of the canvas. Now, I don't necessarily want pink in my shirt, so I'm going to wipe the brush off. I'm going to grab some of the yellow. We're going to slap that kind of, we'd have a bit of the light hanging out here, and just kind of notice the place of where I'm putting the paint. And then I'm imagining that her shoulder's happening right there, so it's kind of a weird U shape. So we've got her shoulder kind of coming right here, and then the front of her chest is on the right-hand side. So wipe that brush off, and then light pressure, and we're just going to do a few little brush strokes, because you can see how quickly that yellow gets eaten up in that red. And we're just kind of following that shape. If you end up moving your brush a lot and you lose that, grab some more yellow paint, slap it on there, wipe that brush off, and then move it again, but just don't move your brush as much. And this does not have to be perfect. We're just giving an indication of where some light is coming from. And we're going to put a little bit of a shadow here on her back. So with that, I'm actually just going to grab the blue, and a little bit goes a long way. Slap it right on top of that red, wipe the brush off again, and then move your brush on top of it. And it's going to mix with the red and kind of create a deep purple color. And mine's drying out, so I'm going to grab a little bit of that red paint again. You can mix it in with it, so you can go back and forth, and you're getting good practice with your wet on wet blending and also blending primary colors. All right. Awesome. Yeah, and we've got a question on there. Sonia says that she ran out of gesso for repurposing a canvas. And I think I forgot to mention that at the beginning of the video. Because I paint so many demos, I do repurpose my canvases, and that's where all the texture came from in the beginning. So if you want, there is a link in the description box below. You can re-gesso, basically repaint your canvas, and then do a new painting on top of it. If you run out of gesso, you can use white paint. You may need a few more coats for your white paint. And you can also use house paint. House paint actually has great coverage. You can usually do it in one application or even primer. So if you have leftover house paint, even if it's of a different color, like if you have yellow or gray or blue, you can still use that. And then you'll have what we call a colored ground to start with. And a lot of artists actually do that, to where they will put a deep burgundy and then they paint on top of that, or some pastel artists paint on top of colored grounds, colored papers. So explore. It doesn't just have to be white when you start. All right, let's see. We are moving next into the skin tone. So I'm still using that middle flat brush, pulling some white aside, and I'm a tan person, so I like to have my people that I paint tan. I feel normal when I have a tan, so most of the people I paint are tan. If you want, you can adjust the tanness of your person by adding more brown or change your skin tone. If you prefer a bit pinker, you can move your white, and a tiny, tiny, tiny amount of red goes a long way. If both of those colors, or either color that you're using, is too dull, too cool, you can always warm it up with a little bit of yellow. And again, a little bit goes a long way, and you don't need much. I'm a pretty tan person, so I'm making this a little darker. All right. So adjust your skin tone to what you like. And if you're not sure what colors to use for the skin tone, leave a comment and I'll reply with some colors that you can use. If you do want to go darker tan than that, you have this raw sienna. You can add a touch of black to it to go darker, or you can add a touch of burnt sienna, and that's a bit of a reddish brown. So again, you can adjust your shade to be what you want for your skin tone. If you want to go Guardians of the Galaxy and have blue or green skin, go for it. No matter what skin tone you choose, please send me a picture of what you guys paint. Email them to paintwithlovejoy@gmail.com, or tag me in social media, which is just a hashtag or hashtag paintwithlovejoy. And again, I'm going right over those lines. I did go over the lines for the mask. I will reapply those with the blue paint when we get into it. But we are just filling up the skin tone. Then we'll move into the hair. We're going to put a little bit of shadows on here. All right, let me get that little chin. All right, so whatever shade of skin tone that you made, I want you to make it just a touch darker. So for me, I'm going to add a little bit more of the raw sienna. and just going a little bit darker. And we're going to put a bit of a shadow on the chin. And at home, all I want you to do is just kind of observe the placement. And here, let me make mine a little bit darker because it doesn't look like it's showing up on the screen as much. So I'm making mine a touch darker, but just kind of notice the placement of where I'm putting the shadows. I'm kind of putting it at the base of the hairline, underneath the chin on the neck. We'll put a little bit right above that shirt. And then that hairline usually has a bit of a shadow. And then we're going to put some right behind that mask. So again, you're just going for the general placement of where the shadows are. It does not have to be perfect. Once you've got those on there, I'm going to wipe the brush off and go back with kind of light pressure and just soften that transition between the lighter color and the darker color we just applied. And you can either do it by kind of a scumbling, a back and forth, or a dotting method, kind of like stippling. So whatever is working for you, stick with that. All right. Let's see, so another question I was asked is the brush that I'm using have a round or straight edge? The one I'm currently using has a round edge. Let me see if I've got a straight edge one close by. Okay, I do have it in the bigger one. So I have what we call is a filbert. It's got a curved edge, and then a flat edge is exactly that. It's just flat. These are kind of interchangeable. So if you have only the flat brushes, don't feel like you need to go back out and buy the curved ones. They can both be used in similar styles. I actually like the flatter one better because I can get some crisper, sharper lines. This one's really good for a bit more organic things, so you can kind of get some curved lines in there without kind of a sharp edge. But like I said, both of these are interchangeable, so find which one's working for you, and like I said, don't buy a whole lot of new materials unless you need to. All right, so let's see, now we're going to move into the hair, and we are giving her blonde hair. And I have a bit of white blonde right now. I am modeling this after my current hair. And I'm a bit of a dirty blonde, so I might actually add a touch of that raw sienna in there. So the yellow was too bright for me, so I took the white, added some yellow. And then, like I said, I'm a bit of a dirty blonde, so I'm going to grab a little bit of that raw sienna and tone it down. And if you want, you can, again, make the hair color whatever you like. You can change the hairstyle. Again, if you wanted to do a dude, just make sure that the ponytail is not added on there and you just paint your background on top of it. And we're filling up all that space. And I am making sure I'm going over those black outlines. And I tend to kind of pick one brush and use that for the whole painting. So if you need to switch brushes, use a different brush, and I'm not using that, feel free to switch and modify for what you need at home. Most of what I'm doing here is merely a suggestion. You take the parts that work for you, but just paint, just get creative. That is the most important thing about these demos. And really, that's the most important thing about my YouTube channel in general. Just please be creative. I want more stress-free humans on this planet, and this is my way to help you. All right. And again, if your blue paint is still wet, maybe give it a little bit longer to dry. If you kind of move right in and the paint is still wet and you get kind of that green color, just take a paper towel, wipe it off, and then reapply your color. All right, so let's give her some highlights or some shadows. And this is where you might want to move down to that pointy brush. I'm going to use it kind of sideways, the middle brush. And just kind of flowing these in here, thinking about hairlines. This does not have to be perfect. And again, if you put some colors where I am not putting it, totally okay. Just use the general placement of where I'm putting them as your general idea. But trust your instincts. If you're inclined to put it somewhere, I do not. All right, and then once I kind of get those in there, I'm wiping that brush off again, and then with that light pressure, just softening that transition but still keeping some of those little highlight, or I guess these are darker, so they'd be low lights in your hairstyle. And if you're inclined to put flowers or bows or style the hair somewhere, if you want to do contouring for the makeup, please go right ahead and do that. And then, like I said, if you're inclined to give this to one of the frontline workers, please do that. I had an Instacart delivery yesterday, and I gave her one of my greeting cards and tipped her 20 bucks cash, and the smile on her face. And then she reached out and messaged me through social media afterwards and just said, thanks so much. And, you know, so they want to hear, they want to know that because they're taking the extra chance and being on the front lines, that you do appreciate it. So let them know how important they are right now and what a great job they're doing. All right, so let's see, another question right before I move into painting the mask. Yeah, so the question is, should you try to keep your painting in the exact same position or should you turn it? Feel free. You are painting at home. I am filming, so I try to keep my painting and everything in here in the same position, so that way it makes it easier for you guys at home. But as you're painting something and you want to turn your canvas sideways, or you want to put it on your lap or turn it upside down, do that. Anything that you need to do to adjust your creative output, do it. There are sometimes reasons why I'll do specific things here, but that doesn't mean you have to do it at home. So like for this, like I said, I'm filming, so I don't want to be moving this all over the place for you guys. All right, so now I'm making a super light blue for the mask. And like I said earlier, I'm still using that middle brush, but as we get into smaller spaces, I think I will be moving down to the pointy brush. So we're going to fill this in, and it is kind of a light blue. So I'm actually going to go right over all those black outlines. You can reference your traceable if you forget where they're at. And then we're going to put a darker blue on top of this. Right. And oh, I totally forgot to tell everybody, if you're holding your breath, take a deep breath, relax, breathe. I think because I was talking so much, I never got to the point where I held my breath. But I think that's one of the biggest feedbacks I get is, I love how often you tell me to breathe, to relax. Just fix this edge. There we go. All right, so now I'm actually moving down to that small pointy brush. And let's see, let's grab some of that white paint. We're going to do a few little highlights. And again, just kind of notice the place where I put it. And then we're going to blend it into that lighter paint. And I do want it a little bit brighter on the top. So I kind of went across the top of the mask and then kind of curved around the front. Then we're going to blend or wipe off that brush. And then I just want you to softly blend this lighter color into the edge of the mask before we move into a darker shade. All right. And for this video, I will not do the outline just because I do want it to dry before I do the outline, but I do recommend at home when we are completely done, let your painting fully dry, and then I want you to do kind of a medium thick outline to where part of your black line is overlapping the subject matter and then the other part's overlapping a bit of your background. And then send me pictures of that. But it just kind of cleans everything up and just makes it pop a little bit more. So because I did not put black on here, I'm going to be doing the perimeter of the mask and the stitching with just that straight blue paint. So you can clean your pointy brush out really good, and then if you need to, as we're pulling it out of the paint, twirl your brush a little bit, and that will keep the bristles together and kind of keep that point. So basically going to be outlining the mask, and this is the part where you definitely want to breathe. It does not help to hold your breath while you're doing this. And if you're finding that you're shaky doing this, exhale as you touch the brush to the canvas, and that will help a lot. And if you forget, you can talk while you're painting, and that seems to make sure that you breathe. Kind of doing those inside perimeter lines, the stitching around the mask, and then we'll get those kind of folded pleated lines in there. Again, just using light pressure. Breathe, and let's see, I want to actually make this part a little darker. So I'm going to fill in the perimeter, that stitching that we did. And there are tons of custom masks. Nice enough, I had a student, Jen, send me a Van Gogh mask, and I wore it out to the post office yesterday and got tons of compliments on it. But support, we don't, as civilians, we don't need the medical masks right now. So support your local artists, support those that are making the handmade masks. Reach out to them. If you want Jen's info, let me know, or, oh, she just jumped on, cool. But grab some more from her. And again, it's supporting small businesses, it's supporting yourself, and some of them are quite stylish. So you've got some options. All right, so let's see, like I said, the only thing I would do next is add a black outline, but I do want this to dry before I do that. So I think this will kind of put us at the conclusion for today's painting, and about 25 minutes, not bad. Please let me know what you want in the future to be painted. I do have the list going out, I think about a week and a half now, and great suggestions. I like all of them. So let me know what you want and I'll add it on there. If you're curious what I'm painting in the future, jump to my main YouTube page. You can scroll down and you can see future live streams. And you can also see all the streams that I've been doing for the last month. So please keep painting. Send me your pictures, subscribe and like the channel. Jump on over to my main website, Paint with Lovejoy, and check out the classes I have over there. But please keep getting creative. We are getting through this together, and we're going to come out better people on the other side. So until tomorrow, thanks so much for hanging out with me today, guys. Really appreciate it. And I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye.